From Bloomberg Quicktake, I'm Renita Young, and this is Your Money Story. And April is Financial Literacy Month. What a better time, what a great time to sort of go through how you relate to money, find out what the relationship looks like. Maybe you need to repair a few things. Maybe you need to get good with money. And so to help us do that, I have Tiffany Aliche, the Budgetnista, joining us today. Of course, you may know her as America's favorite financial educator, but she's also the co-host of top-rated financial podcast, Brown Ambition, owner of the Budgetnista, and many more accomplishments, including your new book, Get Good with Money, being on the New York Times bestseller list, or 2 New York Times bestseller lists. Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Renita. Thank you.
Absolutely. And congratulations on the success already of the book. We are going to get into the book in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But first, of course, we start out here at Your Money Story with just that. And so you grew up in a house where money was not a taboo topic. Your dad was a CPA and an accountant. So how did that shape the way that you related to money throughout your years?
So I'm one of 5 girls, and my dad really used to sit down with us on a regular basis to teach us how to budget, how to save, how to navigate with our finances. I didn't know that other kids weren't getting that. I'm like, well, what do you guys do on Thursday nights? You don't do money class? And so, but he did so, and he and my mom really did so in such a way that was not fear-based, that was not judgment-based. So I grew up with a very healthy relationship with money and dealing with money.
So thinking about that healthy relationship, I know you probably counted on that when you ran into a rough patch. You talk a lot about the shame you felt because you had known all of these things, but you still ran into a rough patch. Can you just walk us through quickly what that felt like?
Yes, Renita, like what happened was I trusted what was then a friend, and I asked him to teach me how to invest. And instead he got me connected with a credit card scam, and I ended up losing $35,000 to credit card debt, but not before I'd already gotten my condo, which was $220,000. This is my mid-20s, and I finished my master's, which is $52,000 in student loan debt. So I had almost $300,000 in debt, and then here came the Great Recession in 2008, 9, and 10, and I lost my job. So I had all this debt and no job. I ended up having to move back home with my parents at age 30. It was just a really difficult, rough time, and I felt ashamed.
Of course, especially after having such independence at that age too, such financial independence and just independence in life. But there was a turning point, of course. Your best friend gave you a phone call. Yes. What did she tell you that helped you sort of turn your mindset around?
So her name is Linda, and Linda reminded me that she too was on her mother's couch. She also reminded me that so many of our friends, that they were living that same reality because the Great Recession had taken homes from folks and had put people in dire financial straits, that I was not alone in credit card debt. I was not alone in student loan debt. And as a result of that, because the problem with shame is that shame shields solutions, right? Because shame tells you, Tiffany, you are a mistake instead of you've made a mistake.
Right.
And so the only way to really get rid of shame is to give voice to it. And so when I told Linda, it allowed the shame to recede. And I was able to see, wait, you have these lessons already internally, Tiffany. Let's start to put them into a plan and take that plan and put it into action. And so as I was rebuilding myself, other friends started asking me if I could help them, and the Budgetnista, my business, was born.
Important to note here that you hadn't had that experience of shame before that. And guess what? You needed to be able to guide people out of it somehow. And so, hey, you call it shame. Everyone may call it shame as well. Maybe it was divine timing, honestly, that you were able to have that lived experience for people so that you can know how to guide them out. I just wanted to note that all things work out, And so because of that, I find it pretty interesting that to dig yourself out of this hole, you started by developing a life of service all over again. Can you tell us what that looked like and why it was important to you to be in service to others?
Well, it's because one thing I notice is that when I am going through a rough patch, when I am like maybe in a funk for too long of a time, I tell myself, you know what, Tiffany, you have on the Tiffany channel for entirely too long. It's Tiffany morning, noon, and night, that you have to look outside of yourself. And so service has always been one of the things I've leaned on to change the Tiffany channel and to see that other people exist and are also struggling. And in helping them, it actually helps me as well, because giving really does activate abundance. And so I started volunteering all over to teach financial education. As I was fixing myself, I started helping family and friends. And as a result, there was this demand for a business that I'd not even considered.
Excellent. And being in service of others always, although it may not be intentional to have it pay off in the beginning, but I feel like it always does, because it comes back to you one way or another. That's just kind of how this thing works. But you place a huge emphasis, a primary focus on helping women with money. Tell us why that has been your focus in the beginning and even now still.
I think it's critically important that I focus on women because, one, I'm a woman. So it's important for people to see something in order for them to be something. Right. So, but also too, women make up to 70% of the financial choices in a household, 70. So if you're wanting to create stronger families, stronger neighborhoods, stronger community, you must help women master their money. And so that is ideally, I want people to live richer lives, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man. But I know that one of the best ways to ensure that is through women.
And so you've gone on since this journey, and you've got Dream Catchers, you've got the Live Richer Academy, and even the Budgetnista law that who has a law named after them and is living and alive and well. I love that it focuses on getting financial education integrated into middle school systems. Have you heard that this was 2019? Have you heard any success stories or any kind of feedback since then? What have you heard?
No, I have. And so that law was really special to me because New Jersey is a progressive state as it relates to financial education. We already had a law in place for high school, but I really sincerely believe that you need to start younger. And it didn't really, I guess, hit me that I'd helped to write this bill, and along with Assemblywoman Angela V. McKnight, helped to get this law passed, until a neighbor of mine, she's a friend of mine, I was at her house, and she's got a daughter who's in middle school, Olivia. And Olivia knows I used to be a teacher, so sometimes she'll ask me to help her with an assignment. And she said, "Miss Tiffany, can you help me with my homework?" And I said, "Sure." So we were looking at her homework, and I remember I said, "Olivia, wait, you're learning about money in school? You're learning about money in school?" It was the law in action, that here, this beautiful little girl was already learning about financial education. And that's what I wanted. I want to normalize talking about money with children, so that way these children grow up to be adults that don't have the hangups, because I didn't get those hangups from home. And I wanted the same for children statewide, and hopefully one day nationwide.
I would imagine this is helping the parents too. Is it definitely, or have you heard any feedback specifically about how these kids' money education, financial education, is actually helping in the house?
Absolutely. I've heard feedback from people that say, honestly, I look at my son or my daughter's homework because I struggle with my finances, and it's explained to them in a way that a middle school student can understand, so I can understand it too. And so, and then also too, it opens up conversation. I've heard folks reach out to me to say that we've never talked about money before because my child didn't have a point of reference. And now they're learning things in school, and they're like, "Wait, Mom, do you pay rent or mortgage? Dad, how much is our water bill?" And so that those types of conversations, it's really just great to start to open up those types of conversations, because money really is a team sport, and everyone in your household needs to be on the same team. And so having this law in place has helped to make and foster those types of conversations.
Absolutely. It'll create more conscientious children. Maybe they may not leave the water running while they're brushing their teeth anymore. Or maybe, just little things like that. It can help. I certainly know what it did for me when I started to get my financial house in order. I started looking at how I was spending my time, because when you spend time doing something, it often costs money. So you take a look at that, and you also get a chance to, by having in middle schools, take a look at that earlier and get the children involved in the financial decisions. I love it. I'm a fan. I know you wrote a book about it too.
Mhm.
Tell us about the book quickly, the book for kids, and then we're going to move on to Get Good with Money.
So last year, it was honestly years in the making, but it came out. It's called Happy Birthday, Molly Moore.
Mhm.
The age range ideally is for 3 to 7 year olds. I wanted to give parents a tool that they could use to help teach what I call pre-financial education lessons to their little ones. Things like giving and sharing and community and donating. The book is just about a little girl who is having a birthday party. And at first she's excited about the party and family and friends, but then she starts to prioritize the gifts that she receives until there's no more space in her household to host any family and friends. So they go outside to have a good time, and she's left inside to blow out her candles by herself. So she has to decide what's more important, family and friends, or all these gifts. And so she decides, and kids get to learn alongside with her. Because I'm an educator and I've got my master's in education, I also had and extend the lesson questions and activities at the back of the book to help parents extend that lesson, or to help really the whoever's reading that book to extend the lesson with that child, because it's just critically important that kids get this in as early as possible.
That's so good to have activities with it too. And I mean, you also do lesson plans for your life. So you just can't take the teacher out of you. I also
Yes.
think that it's really brilliant that you had the 10 years as a teacher, and grown adults sometimes need to learn money like their children, because we didn't learn when we were kids. Sometimes we have to learn as children.
Yeah.
So just a lot of things sort of lined up to have you in this spot right now. And we land at Get Good with Money, how to become financially whole. So tell us first, what is financial wholeness, and how is it different from financial freedom?
So financial wholeness is when these 10 core components of your financial life come together to create a strong foundation that the rest of your financial dreams and hopes and wishes can be built on. Those 10 components are budgeting, savings, debt, credit, learning to earn, investing, insurance, net worth, your financial team, and estate planning. Those 10 things come together almost like a Voltron to come to build this strong foundation. Now, financial freedom, the difference is financial freedom is having enough money that you don't have to work anymore. And that is an awesome goal to reach for, but you can be financially free and not be financially whole, because you can be financially free where you don't have to work anymore, but you're underinsured or you don't have an estate plan. So financial wholeness is something that everyone can achieve. It just means mastering these 10 things. And I show you how and Get Good with Money.
That's good. And so we actually have a quick question from the audience asking, what are some quick strategies for building early as a young student, perhaps building wealth, building a better financial mindset?
So first things first, I'm assuming this, maybe you are in high school or in college, you want to learn as much as you can. I want you to learn the basics, budgeting, savings, all that, but also too how to invest, because I want you to practice now so you can really put it into application later. One of the regrets I have is that I didn't start practicing investing until later on in life, because there's a learning curve to whatever it is that you're learning, meaning that it takes a little while before you get good at it. So the more you practice now, the better. So I'd say that listen to podcasts like Brown Ambition, read books like Get Good with Money, watch YouTube channels like the Budgetnista, and start to practice now so you can get better later.
You know what I wonder about, Tiffany? We're in year 2 of this pandemic right now. And when you think about practicing, when you think about creating a budget, paying off debt, financial priorities of a lot of people have changed. And so right now, what do you think are the most important financial lessons for 2021?
So most important financial lessons are, one, to make sure that where you are, that you are maintaining your health and safety expenses. Those come first. Those are the expenses that maintain, will I be healthy? Will I be safe? And then after that, asking yourself, do I have enough to pay my bills so I can keep up my normal life? Nothing fancy, but my normal life. And if that is so, great. But another priority, even more so than paying off debt, which some people prioritize over savings, is really to have an emergency fund. If 2021 and 2020 have taught us nothing, is the value of having money set aside in case you experience any loss of income. So that emergency fund trumps almost everything. And then after that, really, it's debt and investing simultaneously. Now, if you do have expensive credit card debt, try to get rid of that first. But if you have something like student loans where the interest rate is fairly low, or other debt that's single digit interest rate debt, then I want you to pay that debt off, but also invest as well.
That's perfect. It answered the next question I had, which was about someone asked from the audience, should I pay student loans now or invest? And what I'm hearing from you is that it doesn't have to be either or, it can be both.
Yes, and it should be both, because my assumption is that your student loan debt likely does not carrying a heavy interest burden. Now, if your student loan debt is double digits, then pay that off. But if it's not, then that means you have the possibility of earning that back in the market. So within the last 100 years, the market has yielded 10%. But really, in the last 30 or so years, you're looking at 7 to 8% of like gaining that money back. So you can put money in the market and get back 7 to 8% fairly conservatively, or you can pay off this debt that maybe is only costing you 5%. So I don't want you to lose out on earning 8% to get rid of something that's costing you 5%. That's why you want to do them in tandem to each other.
Tiffany, I want to throw you a curveball here, because the student loan debt crisis is, some people call it a pandemic of its own. What if you have triple digit student loan debt and maybe you can't afford to make a payment that'll make a sizable impact?
So if you have triple student loan debt, my hope is that it's federal. Because if you do have federal student loan debt, after we see, what it's going to happen with the moratorium, after, that's lifted, I honestly would ask myself, it might be worth it to work at a job that has some sort of way for your student loans to be forgiven. So I know, for example, if you're a teacher, but not all the jobs have to be like public service jobs. There are some jobs where you qualify for loan forgiveness. I would look into that, because it might be worth it to you to work a few years at a job like that to get your student loans forgiven. Now, if they are private student loans, then they just have to be paid. I just wouldn't make that my number one priority, because debt freedom doesn't equal wealth. I would work on most of my energy into learning how to earn and to grow wealth. So that way I would eventually have enough money to pay off that student loan debt.
Excellent answers. It's not always so cut and dry either, because it depends, I should say, on your debt load, on the percentage, whether it's a private or public loan. Another curveball, how about this? Now that federal student loans are still on a bit of a freeze, is now a good time to pay them down? Let's say, again, if you have that triple digit student loan debt, which is really 6 digits, but you know what I mean, is now a good time to pay that down or build wealth, or both?
Now it's still a good time to do both. If you have it to be able to pay it down, now all of your money is going to go to the principal. Normally, when you pay off debt, it goes to some principal, some interest. Now, because you don't have to pay right now, all your money would actually go to the principal, bringing that money down. But we also have a unique opportunity in the market to get greater returns than average. So I don't want you to miss out on that either. So I would still be paying down student loan debt and also investing as well.
Okay, so now I want to ask you a few very quick rapid fire questions about spending, saving. Number one, what should I ask myself before I spend anything?
Do I need it? Do I love it? Do I like it? Do I want it?
Perfect. And quickly, top 3 ways to save.
1, automate savings into your savings account. 2, make your money inconvenient. Open up an online-only savings account away from your checking account at your regular bank. And 3, choose a goal. It's much easier to choose a goal and save toward that than just saving for saving's sake.
Top 2 or 3 ways to make additional money.
1, try to get a raise at your current job. Create a Go Me file where you add the ways that you have added value to your job. 2, ask yourself ways that you can monetize a gift that you have. I am a teacher, but I can tutor and I can babysit. So monetize your current skill set.
This is not a rapid fire question, and thank you for those answers. And they make perfect sense. A lot of people don't think about the things that they do naturally as big, you know, worth or as them being able to be paid for it, I should say.
Mhm.
They don't think about that, but it's plenty of things that people can use that they do every day that is a talent that someone needs
Mhm.
that they can make money off of.
Exactly.
This is not a quick question or answer, but tell us, many people are very worried. They may be a little hyper worried about their credit scores
Mhm.
right now, as it relates to maybe they're trying to buy a home, maybe they just want to have good credit. For whenever they need or want something. How important is your credit score? What type of emphasis should you put on it right now? I'm guessing this depends on your age, if you have little or no credit at all, but what are you thinking so far?
So when it comes to your credit score, I want you to focus on the FICO score. That is the score that most lenders look at. The lowest FICO score you can have is 300, and the highest is 850. But really, the secret of what lenders don't always share with you is that really, as long as you have a 740, that is the beginning of perfect credit. So you don't have to have an 850, 740 to 850. It's a range that they look at. And I would not worry so much about my credit unless I'm looking to use it. So are you looking to purchase a home in the next year or two? Are you looking to purchase a car? Do you need to get an apartment? Other than that, just basic maintenance of your credit score is fine. You don't have to stress over your credit score. It's one of the things that honestly is easily manipulated. You could do something like becoming an authorized user with someone who already has a credit card that they pay off in full every month, a family member. They add you on and you get to inherit their good behavior. Paying down debt is going to help your credit score significantly. Have a separate checking account just for bills and automate your bills, because 35% of your credit score is, do you make on-time payments? So there are ways to raise your credit score.
Okay. And so looking at the whole picture underneath all of this, credit scores, ways to save, ways to make additional money. It's cultivating good financial habits.
It's helping you get good with money, which is all in my book.
Good one. No, really, that's what it is. But here's the thing, Tiffany, after you've gotten wealth, or pardon me, after you've gotten out of debt, after you've gotten your savings built, maybe you already got good with money. How do you maintain wealth? How do you maintain those habits?
Well, step number 7 in Get Good with Money, step number 7 of financial wholeness is really, it's about, one of the ways you protect your wealth is through insurance, because you have to have something to protect your assets, but also you want to estate plan. So these are things like creating a will. It might be also creating a trust so that your wealth is maintained from generation to generation. And automation, honestly, is an amazing tool. So if you can automate your good behaviors, so if you're investing, you can automate your investments. If you're saving, you can automate your savings and just leave the money left over for your normal day-to-day spending. So investing, considering insurance, and considering an estate plan.
Okay. And lastly, we're coming to a close. Tell me something. What don't people understand about how to get good with money?
What people don't understand is that anyone can get good with money. Financial freedom, only a handful of people will achieve financial freedom in their lifetime, but everyone can achieve financial wholeness and get good with money. It is possible.
All right. I think that's a brilliant place to leave it. Tiffany Aliche, the Budgetnista, thank you so much for joining us. And congratulations with the success of Get Good with Money so far. I'm going to go get a copy so I can make sure I stay good with money.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. And from Bloomberg Quicktake in New York City, I'm Renita Young. Have a great day.